Hello again. So this time I'm going to talk about something that I find interesting. Well, more than interesting, it's something I've been working on for quite a while, quite a few years. A project to understand everything, understand people, how they think, how they act, and why it is better than psychologists, because psychologists just are incompetent. I will Yeah, they're looked down upon by almost anyone in an exact science, physics, mathematics, etc. I had a lot of talks about these kind of issues when I was studying physics. People just don't look positively onto the humanities, the topics that are discussed there, how the science, if you want to call it a science, is practiced. But to properly start this topic, I want to start with this. Abraham Pais, a Dutch physicist. I watched a documentary. It was probably something about physics. Must have been something about physics. He was talking about. It was probably on the BBC, but not sure. He was talking about what they did in a student club, and it was connecting topics. So, for example, you were given two topics, and you had to go into a number of steps to connect them. From one, you go to another topic, and you must find these links. That's actually a very good exercise for analysis, but that's another topic. Yeah, I may touch upon it a little bit because I want to tell you also something about what happened when I applied for a job as a teacher of physics. So I will start with this. The reason I wanted to make this video was actually about this.
$1 billion in payouts. There's one guy here getting 2 million.
So he gets 2 million because he failed a test for teacher. Absolutely ridiculous. And then if you listen, let's see.
What you said, it was very nice, and they knew I wasn't taking them serious because I just wasn't taking them serious. You know, would you send me letters and tell me about lawsuits?
No, already what you notice probably is I wasn't taken serious. No, it wasn't. I wasn't taken seriously. This guy has also extremely bad pronunciation. This guy is not fit to be a teacher. This is what he says as well.
I know lawsuit either they go through or they won't go through. You know, from reading, hearing news and all that.
I know lawsuit is either go through or not. I know this from hearing about it. My God, man, this is such a simple guy.
And I know a couple of people that had well, not in education, but they went through lawsuits and they didn't win or anything like that.
So that's him talking about the lawsuit.
Yeah.
They were saying things I didn't. Yeah, I didn't believe.
It's a bit difficult to decipher.
Not the world's greatest communicator, right? So I can see why he keeps failing this exam. I don't.
Yeah, exactly. But these people, this guy has been making videos on a channel called Sargon, so he calls himself Sargon, the channel is Sargon. And the problem with them is that they're not solving anything, but they don't understand the way to solve it, and they don't understand the exact reasons why things happen with wokeness, political correctness, etc. I mentioned on my website with a description of my project to understand everything, which worked. I mean, I realized later that all the topics that I worked in or studied or that were my hobbies were actually useful to understand everything, to put everything together. The links again, as in the start, links to understand things, to couple things, very important. And this is also why psychologists don't understand people and life. I can tell you also about a time when I applied for a job for programming, and all the jobs were going through these stupid agencies. You couldn't just contact the company directly. Almost everything went through agencies, and I went to one of these agencies, and there was this woman, I talked to her, she said, yeah, I'm an expert here on C++. I thought, yeah, well, what the hell do you know about C++? She's a psychologist. And I thought, and I told her what I wanted in life, and she was sort of surprised. I mean, I want to do something that has something that is useful in a way. So I had to tell her in a sort of approximately what gives meaning to life, not just about work. And something really weird happened. She disappeared. She didn't contact me anymore after that. And then I called after a while, and the agency said, yeah, she was ill, blah blah blah. But I never heard from her again. So I thought maybe she got so depressed by me telling her what makes sense in life, because I wasn't interested in making the most money, for example, for a job, that she became psychologically ill. Wouldn't surprise me, because why wouldn't she contact me later after she got better? I think something seriously, there was something seriously wrong with her. Could quite well be psychologically. And it's not a surprise, because psychologists are generally incompetent and very often mentally unstable. And when I was studying physics, actually something interesting happened. I was just taking some extra classes of philosophy of science, for example, with Popper, etc., Feyerabend. So if you know those, if you've heard of those, that's interesting. But I was not that impressed by everything. But that's for another topic. Otherwise, this becomes way too long. So I talked to this girl who I liked. Turns out she studied psychology. At the time, I was absolutely not interested in psychology at all. I was interested, physics and mathematics. So she said to me that everything she learned she felt that it was outdated. I didn't ask her at the time why, because I wasn't interested in psychology. And later, I thought, I thought back to it, and I thought, it's a pity I didn't ask her more why, what exactly she felt was outdated, but also why she didn't do something else, go study something else. Perhaps she found out after a few years, and then you think, okay, I'll better finish this degree. But these guys, they don't understand the actual reason for why what is happening and why it started in the USA. That's also very interesting to realize, because this guy says, for example, it's a French philosopher who came up with the idea of political correctness. Irrelevant. It got hold in the USA because the mentality there was right for it, and the circumstances. And how this exactly works is actually not so difficult to explain, but if I'm going to explain everything, it'll be a video of like a week. I'm not going to do that. So I will just tell you a few things that you may find interesting. So what you need to do in society is go into politics or change the education system. Those are the only two ways you can get rid of the insanity that's going on in the US and the UK especially, but it's grabbing hold a little bit in Western Europe as well. And actually, one of the things I wanted to do before I started with my bicycle website and selling and reviewing bicycle equipment, and after that I did some work for approvals of lights and electric scooters, electric bikes, pedelecs, etc. But before that, I thought I was tired of doing some programming. I didn't want to do that anymore, but I had ideas on how to make education better in physics, especially because I studied physics. And I applied for a job. At the time, it was a time when the schools were complaining that they couldn't find enough teachers, blah, blah, blah. I talked to the guy from the school. He called me, but they had put up an ad. I replied by email, and he phoned me and he said, it's a huge problem. We can't find any teachers. And That was the conrector, which is below the rector. The rector is like the director of the school. I talked to him in person when I went to an interview, and I realized he said he studied mathematics. He was a teacher of mathematics, and I realized from what he said that he took the job as conrector just for the money. And I don't like such things. But okay, I go to the interview. There's the physics teacher who's about to retire. He gives this like handshake, and he tries to squeeze. I think, what kind of an idiot is that? But I didn't make a comment about that, but we start a bit about technical things, teaching physics, and he says, well, can you give me a list of this and this in that many steps? And I said, no. I should have immediately said that is a complete nonsense question, because nobody in school knows everything, and every teacher needs to prepare lessons. I should have said that. But in retrospect, it all doesn't matter, and I knew it doesn't matter. That guy felt inferior. That's why he asked us a question from the things that I written in my application. So the teachers were asking about what do you do, for example, with unruly students, and I explained what I would do. And what do you do if you get angry? I said I don't get angry because I've experienced everything with discussions on Usenet, forums, etc. Nothing gets me angry. People, I can deal with anything anyone says. So whatever a student says, it doesn't get me angry. I think just he's an idiot. And I may say that, but maybe not. If, for example, it's not deemed appropriate, sometimes you need to be a little bit harsh towards students, because they need to be told what's acceptable and not. In any case, I knew at the end of the interview, they were not interested. Funny thing is, so they invited me for a meeting that was the same evening. It was like a school festivity, something. I didn't go because I knew they were not interested. It was a waste of time. And I got a letter a few weeks later, I think it was. And it was also, it was this school, by the way, Groenhart Lyceum. It looked like this at the time. They later renovated it, and it looks like that now. And Groenhart Lyceum. So I will come to this film in a minute. So I wanted to change. I wanted to give education a change, and what I wanted to do is put analysis first. How to analyze a system, how to play with the system, how to change it a little bit, so that the pupils really understand it. Once you really understand something, you find it fun, you become better at it, you try harder, etc. They were absolutely not interested in that school, and in that letter they said something, we found, they actually had a lot of applicants, so there's all this complaining about not having enough applicants was a bullshit. So they said in the letter that we found the right candidates, something like very brief, and they didn't. And I thought, found the right candidate? Who? Me? Someone else? Oh, probably not me. But they did not make that clear in that letter. Extremely unprofessional and absolute nut jobs. I thought I will never ever deal with teaching again. Certainly not at that school, but it's clearly a waste of time. They were not interested in making teaching better. They were interested in very stupid things like what would you do if a student does this or that, and if you can't prove that you have that experience, then they won't accept it. Complete nonsense. Okay, then we come to something else, and it's there's a little bit of a jump backwards, but at the same time I was, so for the connections I mean, so remember what I said at the start that everything's connected. So at the same time, I was looking for perhaps another country to go live in. I was looking at some documentaries, travel guides. What was it? Wanted Down Under, for example, on the BBC when I was at my sister's house because I didn't have TV at my own house. Or perhaps I also used it, looked a bit on the internet. In any case, I thought, yeah, maybe Australia, New Zealand could be more my style, although not anymore. I think the same craziness that's going on in the US, in the UK is going on there. And eventually I came to Eastern Europe and I thought, yeah, Russia's interesting. I like the Russian language. I learned a little bit at university, but not much because I was too busy with other things. It was just, I wanted to learn it, but I didn't. So I started learning a bit of Russian about 2011 and later traveled to Ukraine. And yeah, I really liked it there. I didn't travel to Russia for various reasons, but I discovered Ukraine and I really liked it. But what I discovered there is also, I talked with a lot of women. I discussed things via messages, via emails, talking in person, of course, meeting them, for example, in a hostel, could be anything, could be anywhere. So I mentioned in the previous video that women are far more interesting for me to talk to than men. Men are too boring. So I wrote everything down. I saved all messages, and this was actually what gave me the idea to write a book about experiences, not about experiences in Ukraine, but more how to understand women as a man and men as a woman, which is understanding women as a man is a lot more difficult than the other way around. So as I mentioned, all the previous hobbies, my work, etc., all prepared me to understand something, how it all connects, how everything connects. That was, I can't just describe this briefly, but everything was useful. Computer programming, physics, all my hobbies. This was really weird how everything turned out to be useful for this idea to write this book, but also to analyze and to understand all the connections. So the first thing was about women, humor, philosophy. I wanted to write a book that's completely different from other books. But there also needed to be change in society, I felt. And one of the starting point was manipulation and what I experienced with Schiphol, Airport Schiphol, how the people there behave like psychopaths. And so this came from being in Ukraine. And what I found very interesting there is also the films, which are also related to understanding men and women. One that is very interesting is the hunting accident. I know it as My Sweet and Tender Beast or Mój laskawy I nežný zvěr. And it's used here slightly different in the title, slightly different in English, I mean. It's on YouTube. You can see this film on YouTube. I would recommend it to understand woman. This is an excellent film. So the hunt. Wait. Come on. My Tender and Affectionate Beast. So I knew it as My Sweet and Tender Beast. But this may be more apt. This is about some guys going into hunting in the forest, and they meet this young girl, and I thought she looked about 16. And I looked it up, and the actress was indeed about 16, or actually, those are the guys. So she's 16. These men are probably 45 or something. From the start, when I saw this scene, when I visited, I think, to the point where they met, I knew what would happen in the film. And this is an excellent film in the sense that the actors express everything perfectly. So this woman looks to this guy. Yeah, he's the guy with the money. And she knows that. And look at how she looks. This is what she wants. And that's actually normal. Women search for stability in life. That's built in because they can have children. So there are just certain built-ins in the brain that make it that women search for stability. They search for a provider. And you can see that in her expression of her face. And you can see I already knew by this time that someone would die. Just from the scenes. I didn't know the story at all. And I knew all these men wanted her and someone would die. And that turned out to be exactly correct. This is a very, very well made film. It's a bit weird film, but very interesting. It shows you exactly what people are like and what they want in life. And so I would recommend watching this if you want to understand life. Another film is actually a very, very different film because I watched a lot of Soviet films at the time, but also American. This one is also extremely good. Pandora and the Flying Dutchman. There's some criticism about this is about the Flying Dutchman. So this is a guy on a ship who lives forever until he redeems himself. And he's a Dutch guy. James Mason plays Hendrik van der Zee. And Ava Gardner plays Pandora Reynolds. And yeah, there are other characters, other men who are interested in her. He is also interested in her. And you can see from the actions of these men what they want and what they find important. And that is exactly what is real in life. Various types of people, very emotional or not emotional. One cares more about the car than about the woman. One is extremely emotional and wants to shoot Van der Zee, James Mason. And these kinds of things are what really happens in life. So in the US you have very good films, but also the very worst films, and that comes actually from society. You can understand that. Another cool film about what life is like is The Unbelievable Truth, but this is related also to what I find very interesting about Ukraine and Ukrainian people is their humor. I've seen it in this war, what they did with, for example, some guy who put a machine gun on the back of his BMW. I think it was a BMW. This was at the start of the war, and all the things they did, for example, Chernobyevka, and they made arrows pointing up, down, left, all the way around to confuse the Russians. It's absolutely hilarious. And I experienced that unusual humor a lot in, especially women. But also I found that it's almost always connected to something unfriendly in them, which is a pity. One of the most fantastic experiences was with a woman I knew from Kiev. And I will tell you one comment she made, and she didn't see it as funny, but I thought, wow. There's something similar about this in being what this guy expresses, deadpan comic irony, scenes ranging from hilarious deadpan comedy, comic irony, to those of profound philosophic expression and ponderances, yet looping back around to one standout scene that's both hilarious and profound exchange of dialogue that's literally stuck in its own loop. And I will show that, and that is one of my favorites. It's this.
What I'm doing, so just drop dead. You can't have faith in people. Only the deals you make with them.
That's interesting, by the way. She's become businessified, as I call it. transaction. Everything is a transaction because of her father. And I experienced something like that in real life with a friend of mine who, after getting a job, it felt like when I called him or talked to him, it was like I talked to a representative of some company. It was weird.
People are only as good as the deals they make and keep.
Now comes the interesting bit.
I know what you need.
Excuse me?
You need a woman.
Oh,
That girl is crazy.
I know, but I like her.
But she's leaving town.
So I've heard.
So come on, what do you say? I know what you need.
Excuse me?
You need a woman.
Oh,
See, it loops.
That girl's crazy.
I know, but I like her.
But she's leaving town.
So I've heard.
So come on, what do you say? I know what you need.
Excuse me?
You need
Loops
a woman.
again.
Oh,
That girl's crazy.
I know, but I like her.
But she's leaving town.
So I've heard.
So come on, what do you say? I know what you need. That girl's crazy.
I like this film a lot. The Unbelievable Truth by Hal Hartley, 1989. I probably saw it on maybe the BBC or perhaps Belgian TV. I never watched Dutch TV, only Germany, ARD, ZDF, and BBC, and sometimes Belgium. Yeah, okay. So, this film, excellent. I wanted to go here. So, yeah, no, I wanted to tell you about the joke that the woman in Kiev made. So the joke was like this. It was not actually a joke by her, but I saw it as a joke. She asked me, so I like tea a lot, and I like to try out all the teas that I can find when I'm here in Poland or Ukraine, anywhere. And she asked, have you ever tried tea with cream? And I thought, yeah, tea with cream? No, I've had tea with milk long ago in my youth when I was 10 or so, 11. And so I asked her, so I said that, so I've only had tea with milk, but is it tasty? I asked her. She said, no, it's not very tasty, but it looks mysterious. I said, what? I had to laugh so much, but she then explained, because she's a physicist, she did some work for makeup for films, etc. She also did some modeling. She explained that the visuals are very important to her. But to me it was like, what? This is amazing comment, very funny. After conversations with her, quite often the next day, I would be walking, for example, in a supermarket somewhere, and I would think back to some of the things she said, and I would start to laugh. And then I looked around. Maybe someone thinks, "What? Why is he laughing?" But that's a natural, I guess. Yeah. So then we get to understanding everything. I like unusual things, so that's a bit of the connection between Ukraine and education that I started with, is that I decided education is where it needs to be. People need to be taught true analysis to understand everything. They need to be told how to understand women and men, and how you must appreciate rather than make it the same, because that's what's being forced on you by the political correctness and wokeness nonsense. Is men and women are the same? No, they are not the same. They're completely different. And with these transgender, for example, you see the nonsense. You see some actor, actress. What was it? One in particular stood out. It was what was it called? A strange series. I didn't watch it. Something to nowhere or so. No, I can't come up with the title at the moment. I think it was from 2 years ago or so. So there was this actor, actress. I said, yeah, she looks like a woman, but she sounds like a man. So I thought, yeah, I have to. I quit watching and I went to IMDb, looked it up. Ah, yes, of course, it's a man. And these days with transgender, you don't even know what that means. Does it mean it has an operation? It or he or she or it had an operation or not? I don't know. In any case, it was extremely confusing to hear a woman with a man's voice all the time. So no, I'm not going to watch this anymore. So I didn't. I thought, yeah, okay, maybe it's interesting to watch. Okay, I'll watch episode 4. By then, the episode 4 was coming out, and let's see. This is, by the way, the film on YouTube, Hal Hartley's Unbelievable Truth, but this is not authorized, and it's missing that funny scene with the looping conversation, so you'll have to buy it or sail on 7 seas. The Unbelievable Truth. Yeah, where were we? So, understanding people and... Yeah, this video is getting too long. Let's see. Connection, yeah, the connection. I'll finish it here. The connection between Ukraine and education. So I decided education is where it needs to be. That's where the change needs to start. Politics, you can go around. You can work there for ages and achieve nothing. So these people, they do not understand the actual analysis. They're also just writing or making videos and writing commentary which does not do anything. It's not useful. It does not address the right people. You need politics. You need to go in politics or education. You need to go to make people think differently via education. Perhaps you need to do both because the politics decides education. But the funny thing is that in Ukraine, so I got a taste of the humor that I liked a lot, but also realized all the things that from writing everything down, from all my conversations with women, mostly women, some men, that all the topics that I thought about and written about, discussed with the women mostly, as I mentioned, these are actually perfect to deal with these topics and to explain everything. I will put a link to my page where I describe this topic a bit, with the issues that I saw in society and how it must be dealt with, so that not everything is the same. The journey to elsewhere. Perhaps that was the title, something like that, or voyages to elsewhere. Don't remember exactly. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I forgot to add. So this woman, or man actually, who looks like a woman but talks like a man. In episode 4, I was in episode 4. I wanted to tell you that. So I thought, okay, I will watch this episode. And what did I see? She got stalked or something by a few men. And then she started kicking them and shouting, screaming, swear words. And what I thought was, 1, a woman doesn't move like that. 2, a woman does not talk like that. That's one of the problems with all this transgender and other stuff, is that they're trying to make it seem as if everything is the same, and everything is not the same. There are essential differences between men and women in thinking and appearance, not just biological, but it's deeper than that. And you can't just remove that by just putting on clothes or taking some medicine, for example, steroids or something. With women to men, it goes better, but there are things with the other way it absolutely doesn't work. You always see that a woman is in that case not really a woman. And to me, it doesn't matter, this distinction between men and women, except that it matters for the people in the society. So, I mean, what is done in society is done for these people who don't feel happy in their own body, but they're forcing everything onto the rest of the society. And that is a big problem. That's actually antisocial behavior. But yeah, then we get into everything else, and that would make the topic not even longer. It's already 36 minutes. Wowzers, way too long. But maybe you find this interesting. This is a description of how I got into this topic of this, into writing everything down, and how Ukraine is connected to this, and you may find this interesting for in the future. Okay, that's it for now. Bye.